Okay, so pleased to be here for the first time in the Istanbul Economic Summit. Uh, I am then Alain Nounke. I do run financial institutions business for the International Finance Corporation, covering Turkey and Central Asia, the stands as they call. And I've been here for a little over a couple of years, and before then, I used to have similar roles, the last one being in Johannesburg in South Africa. And it's exciting to be exchanging with you about topics like, the digital role in finance, especially being a very dynamic area of our economy and having to onboard digital uh, trends in finance is really an exciting topic to talk about. Very important also to say that we in the IFC or the World Bank Group are very excited to continue to support the Turkish economy. We've been active in this economy for a little over 5 decades, and covering some large segments of the economy. Just to give an indication, like last year, as a World Bank Group, we were able to deploy as much as $10 billion for the Turkish economy, within which, the private sector did have about $4.7 billion. So things are going well in terms of our role and our contribution to the Turkish economy. And what we believe can help even support the advancement of the local economy is supporting, trends like digitalization, which we play a great part of. And this is also some elements that we want to talk to you about today.
Let's start talk about the fuel of the financial system,
Right.
capital. IFC plays a vital role in unlocking private sector potential, especially in emerging markets. As part of IFC's mandate to mobilize private capital, how do you crowd in long-term private investment through the financial sector in Turkey and Central Asia?
Thank you again, Ashehul. I'm proud to say we have made mobilizing capital to support emerging markets a key priority of not just the World Bank Group, but the International Finance Corporation. To give an indication, last year, up to $69 billion were mobilized by the entire World Bank Group.
Impressive.
Because we believe that we only cannot be up to serving the development needs of emerging markets by just our own capital. And this is why it is important that we use our convening and catalyzing power to crowd in, other capital providers into supporting development need in the world. So within the World Bank Group, IFC last year did generate up to $45 billion of mobilized capital, as part of its investment program. And within that, specifically in Turkey, where last year, in terms of long-term funding, we were able to provide up to $3.5 billion. We mobilized up to $2.5 billion, right? So this is clearly a key priority that we have to not only fund or support by direct funding investment project, but also, crowding and catalyze the involvement of other capital providers to support our program. So this has been a key indicator of our performance in the KPIs, as they call it, and we call it the mobilization ratio. So now we are obliged for each of the dollar that we invest to also mobilize at least one more dollar from other capital providers, right? And to take an example, last year in Turkey, we're able to achieve a 1.1 mobilization ratio, right? So we intend to do that more, because we do believe that there are other capital providers than us that could be actually counted in. And we do that using a number of different instruments, right? One of our preferred instruments is what we call the debt securities syndications, which will have a platform where we have other financial institutions that are part of that platform. So for each of the projects that we intend funding, we sort of mobilize them into funding with us the same project, right? We do that including with some other DFIs. Okay, we do that co-lending with other DFIs, and many of our projects in Turkey have a joint financing of IFC and other development financial institutions, right? We also do that in terms of our ability to be a core investor in a number of projects. What it means is that once we put at least 10% investment as an anchor investor, it creates the interest of other investors to come along with us. Okay, so our anchor investor role, especially in Turkey, has been growing significantly. If I want to mention 3 landmark projects we supported as anchor investors in Turkey, and that was essentially in a sustainability area. We had the Ulka project, right? We had the Renaissance project, and we had the Jimco project. So 3 landmark projects for which IFC was an anchor investor, and being an anchor investor was able to attract other capital providers into the same project, right? So this is to say it remains at the core of our role as a DFI, as a development finance institution, and we intend to keep enhancing that through different means. I was talking to you as a goal that even with corporations like Citibank, okay, we have programs whereby we mobilize Citibank to come and support, in Turkey, for instance, some trade program. So we do that in Turkey with Citibank. We do that with Sumitomo Bank, SMBC, amongst others. So these are just some of the ways by which we believe that having to manage the challenge of capital shortage, having to bridge the funding gaps that emerging markets have, and having to use our convening power to then mobilize and crowd in other investors is what is really at the core of our strategy, and Turkey is one of the main beneficiaries of our mobilization programs.
Thank you, Alain.
Yeah.
Very clear explanation and very impressive figures and very good examples. Thank you for sharing again. Alain, this year we witnessed a fantastic intersection between technology and finance. İşbank digital bonds was a significant milestone. As a technology leader, it was very exciting to see how blockchain technology applied to such instruments. So IFC invested in İşbank's first digital bond issuance this year. What advantages do digital bonds offer?
Thanks, Aisha. First of all, it's important to mention that as a development finance institution, we're very proud to be associated with the modernization of the financial sector infrastructure, including in Turkey. And it's important to mention that digitalization is a key part of that. We see digital bonds as the bonds for the future. And digital bonds, just to mention, are different from traditional bonds in the fact that it is all issued and it's also managed on the distributed ledger technology, on a DLT. And what does it mean, being on the DLT? It means, first of all, that it brings in more security and transparency in the process. It also means that anyone can access buying a bond. Okay, this is what they call the fractional ownership. Any Turkish citizen that wants to be part of this bond investment can do that even from 1 year, right? Contrary to the traditional bonds where you have some threshold which is higher. So it is a kind of democratizing bond investment, right? And it also offers, in a sense, much more liquidity because you can easily trade using the GLT or the blockchain platform. So liquidity is facilitated by the digital infrastructure, and because it also helps a quicker settlement. We're talking about T+0, whereas the traditional bonds would be T+2 or more. This is really settled instantly, so T+0. It involves also some costs, lower cost as a result of this efficient platform. And so for all those reasons, the digital bonds, as I said, are much more convenient and will be the bonds for the future. So we were therefore very honored to pioneer digital bond investment in Turkey. And the first ever digital bond issued by a private banking institution in emerging markets was the İşbank digital bond of June 2025, for which we were investors, right? So this was really a landmark, event in the entire, financial world. And because it had such a strong repercussion on the market, we've seen other financial institutions looking to also issue digital bond instruments, right? And just last week, we had a second digital bond investment in Turkey with Akbank for $100 million as well. It's very important to mention that beyond the digital bond platform instruments, it's also good to understand why are we investing into these bonds, okay? You mentioned the İşbank digital bond of 100 million. The purpose of this investment was to support reconstruction efforts, especially in the financial sector, in the 10 earthquake-affected areas of Turkey, right? So it's very important to mention that, right? And because, as you know, banks after the earthquake had to slow down their lending into the areas, but we believe that it's important to sustain lending in the areas, especially looking at supporting small and medium-sized enterprises, farmers, right? And therefore entrepreneurs, and therefore this 100 million bond was meant to support İşbank lending more into these areas, right? Especially in the earthquake-affected provinces. So this is important to mention. So we use the platform to reach some critical developmental goals, especially in the most affected areas. Okay. And the second digital bond that was issued last week for Akbank was the first ever gender bond issued on a digital format. So the first ever digital gender bond, because we believe that gender in Turkey is also a critical topic for the Turkish economy and what we call the country partnership framework in Turkey, and hence supporting gender empowerment, supporting reducing the gender gaps, supporting also access to women, to mortgages for women, was the purpose of this second digital bond investment. So in a way, we're looking to not just help in improving the capital market infrastructure by using the digital format, but we're leveraging that to reach certain critical development finance goals, whether it's financial inclusion, agri, gender divide, you name it, right? And we also do that by empowering all investors, as I said, any Turkish citizen, to use the digital platform to contribute to this critical project for the Turkish economy.
Very inspiring developments. Alain. Thank you for sharing, and I am personally very impressed of the purposes of these investments. Thank you for investing in Turkey as well. Thank you.
Yes. Look, I will have to say, when we talk about Turkey, we talk about the turbulence that sometimes takes place in Turkey. We always celebrate two things in Turkey's people. It's resilience, and it's also agility, right? Agility to be able to adapt to change, is a changing environment. And resilience and agility can only be well supported by the digital trends, right? So embarking in the digital world, including in the financial sector, is the way to go. We're proud to see that Turkish companies have shown that ability to not just adapt, but show agility to adopt digital trends. It is the way to go. It is a trend which is irreversible, right? And we would, as IFC and as part of the World Bank Group, be always supportive, whether in terms of funding, but in terms of capacity building also, right? Supporting organizations that are willing to embark into those trends.